In place. All right, so this is Riley Davison, and we are here at Ali's Pizzeria on Walsham Road, and we are ready to do an interview. This is Bravo Zulu Radio. Lisa, I want to thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you, Riley. Thank you for having me out. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, hi. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Alonzo. I'm the Executive Director of the Alamo Federal Executive Board, and I'm excited about the opportunity to talk about what the Alamo Federal Executive Board does in the San Antonio community.
Okay, so you know that Bravo Zulu Radio, basically the whole gist of this program is I want to recognize the people that are really doing a tremendous service for our community. And from the day I ever met you, I think that that's what you've been doing. So go ahead and tell the public, basically, because as I told you, I had never heard of the Federal Executive Board. Tell me a little bit about your job.
So the Alamo Federal Executive Boards were established in 1961 by then President John F. Kennedy by a presidential executive order. There's 28 of us across the United States, and we exist in areas where there's a higher preponderance of federal employees. And Texas is very lucky to have 3 of those federal executive boards. So out of those 28, we have 3 of them, one in Dallas, one in Houston, and of course one in Military City, USA in San Antonio. I like to say, and no disrespect to my FEB brothers and sisters, but I think the Alamo FEB is one of the most active and one of the greatest ones. So yeah, and it's because we have such fabulous community partners. So like I said, we were established in 1961, and we were established during the height of the Cold War. And basically what we did during that time is we were a conduit, and we served as a communication collaboration hub between Washington, D.C. and the field offices. So one of our main purposes is to get information out that we get from Washington, D.C. and for higher level headquarters organizations, and disseminate that to our strategic partners in the area. So of the 28 federal executive boards, we all have different missions, but of those missions, we kind of can create our own, morph it into what we want it to be. But there's 3 primary lines of business that we all must stick to. And those lines of business is, number 1 is security and safety of all federal employees. And number 2 is workforce development and support. And our 3rd line of business, which is the one that I really melts my heart, is the strategic partnerships and those intergovernmental and community activities. And that's the line of business where I get to really go out and serve as like an ambassador of the federal government. And I think I've died into heaven already that I get to do this. I really do think that there was some divine intervention in me being where I am today.
Well, what a tremendous service. So how many people do you actually, are you a representative of in terms of federal employees?
So within the Alamo Federal Executive Board's realm of responsibilities or area of responsibility, it encompasses Austin and San Antonio primarily.
Right. We
have reach out to McAllen and Corpus Christi and Laredo, but the main preponderance of the employees is like 120,000 federal employees, representing about 85,000 or 85 different federal agencies. So
no wonder you stay so busy.
Yes, oh my gosh. Yes. But I lay awake sometimes at 3 a.m. thinking of, something idea comes to my mind. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to write that down, because any way that I can do to serve our federal employees, I think it's an honor to be where I am today. I love my job. I love what I do for our feds. And if I didn't like to eat, I would do it for free. But I do have bills to pay, and I do like to eat. So.
Well, you've been a federal employee for how long, you said?
So I've been a little over 35 years. I have 35 years of federal service. About 35 years, 5 months. Nobody's counting, because like I said, I've had the honor of living abroad for 14 of those 35 years. I lived in Greece, Italy, Japan, and Germany, where my daughter was born. And then I landed here after Okinawa, Japan, I landed here in San Antonio. And
a little bit more mundane than some of those places.
Yes, as the saying goes, I wasn't born here, but I got here as fast as I could. But I do love it. I love the weather.
Right. Many military people have retired here because of the weather, because of the economy, and whatnot. Yes, ma'am. So 120,000 souls that report to you and that have your direct, not report to you, right? But they've got your cell phone number.
Well, they don't have my cell phone. They definitely have my email, because I think some of them get tired of all the emails, because I
push it all out. Right.
Yeah, because I believe an informed federal community is a well, take care. Because one of our lines of business is the security and safety of federal communities.
And that's how I met you.
Yes, exactly, through the CERT team.
Right.
Yes, I mean, that's one of my other things that I have a passion for, so I became involved and got certified as a
CERT being Community Emergency Response Team.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a passion for it. I mean, I think we're junkies. Once it gets in our blood, we become junkies. So.
Right. Well, my mom was part of the Red Cross when I was growing up, and she was one of the first ones to stage a mock bus accident for the school and had everybody out there. Yeah, so it was really neat. So that's how I grew up, and then through the Scouts, we had the disaster training
and it's much needed. I mean, it's
yeah,
definitely something that we try to practice. Which I don't know if you're ready to talk about it. Which leads me to one of the partnerships that we have is with the San Antonio Office of Emergency Management, and coming up on February 27th. And this is right on cue because we have our second annual Joint Emergency Preparedness Conference.
Right.
And recognizing that San Antonio is Tennessee, one of our biggest threats is floods. And so recognizing that we tend to flood, and so we were talking, James Mendoza, the Deputy Director at the Office of Emergency Management, we were talking one day, and we've had that 100-year flood, but we haven't had that 500-year catastrophic flood. That kind of makes
our sister community over in Houston has had a couple of times.
Absolutely. And so, we always say it's not if, but when.
Sure.
And one of our goals is to always be prepared. And so that's where we work with our partners, where we have these joint things so that when something does occur, we're not all trying to figure out who each other is. We've already done that up front. We have meetings, we have partnership gatherings, and we already all know who each other is, so that we don't have to fumble through that storming, norming. We've already stormed and normed. We're ready to get into forming and doing what we all have to do. So, which our 27th February Emergency Preparedness Conference, it is centered around that. It's going to be really exciting. I mean, I'm so excited about the lineup we've been able to put together. And when I was sharing it with the FEMA folks, because we have the FEMA Region 6 Regional Director who's going to come.
That's what you were just telling me, right?
Yes, Mr. Tony Robinson is going to come and do opening and kind of what FEMA's role, because we're talking catastrophic.
Sure.
So, which would mean it would go to a federal level.
Right.
So, Mr. Robinson is going to come, and he saw the importance of what we're doing, and he was excited, and he's honored to come and be a part of this event. And so he said, I'm going to come and give opening remarks. And so from there, we evolved into the Office of Emergency Management, talking about local issues. Then we have a bunch of different
and Bexar County's involved as well.
Bexar County, oh yes, city, state, federal, local, nonprofits. So it's like the full gamut of anybody that might be involved in this flood event. So we're going to also do a hands-on tabletop exercise where we'll be broken up into different communities. And what communities won't know is that they're not going to have everything they need, and I'm not going to give away the secrets. So they won't have everything they need.
Well, that's the way to make good training, is not give out all the answers and not have somebody do something that has already been prepared. Right. You have to throw those wrenches into the system in order to be able to test it properly.
So what we want to do though is have it different communities, and I'll know by the end of this week, our people who are preparing that portion of it, they're going to set up the different communities. And the different communities will be established, and then they're going to have to reach across each other to figure out what they need in order to get through this event. And then ultimately how the Office of Emergency Management comes into it. Army Corps of Engineers, city, state, American Red Cross, even the insurance agency, USAA is participating, CPS Energy. So we got a lot of really high-level participants.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And so, but it's important how to know how we all come together in such an event.
And then where's that going to be?
It will be at the Hilton Garden Inns in Live Oak, and that is the address is the 8101 Pat Booker.
Right.
And we still have seats available. We don't have a whole lot of seats, but we do have a few. And so they can reach out to me if they want to reserve seats for that.
Okay. And it's open to who?
It's open to everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So our phone number is 210-565-1860. And actually I'm going to put a plug for my assistant, which is Mr. Michael Z. I couldn't do anything without Michael Z because he is the right-hand man in the office. I'm the one that gets to get out and look good, and he's the one that gets to get out and keep the office running. He's amazing. So I like to put that plug in because he's the one who is answering the phones and taking.
Well, I see. That's what I said from the beginning. I was going to make sure that everybody had your phone and be able to get in contact.
Yes, absolutely. You know, because we want as many people to come, and we want to continue to grow this. So this is our second annual. The response we held last year is at the San Antonio Food Bank. And we had about 175. So this year we're aiming for 200. You know, the goal is to go bigger. And the food bank just couldn't hold what we had, so we moved it to the Hilton Garden Inns.
They would if they could.
Yeah, they would if they could. Yeah. And so, but you know, they are still coming to play too. They are, you know, they are part of people who have signed up. So.
Serving what 16 counties and maybe it's more than that now.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they are one of our strategic partners as well. So.
well, I've served several times in the Emergency Operations Center during the hurricanes, and right now there's no telling whether what the season will be this coming summer.
We don't know that yet. In fact, we get a briefing in the next couple of weeks from the National Weather Service as they predict our hurricane season. We have what we call a full board meeting where all of our agency heads come together and we have different briefings, combined federal campaign, National Weather Service. We try to cover all of our lines of business, something for them in all of our lines of business, whether it's our shared nutrient consortium, whether it's working with National Weather Service, so they have a situational awareness of what's coming down the pike in ways of predicted hurricanes. So they get that briefing as well. And that, of course, is Mr. Joe Ariano, the meteorologist in charge. He is another awesome strategic partner. And I know the Office of Emergency Management relies heavily on that, just to give them information. And also simulations, we do a lot of simulated. It's kind of scary sometimes. The rule was sometimes we would simulate something and then it would happen. So we're like, yay, maybe it was.
Well, I remember Chief Hood responding to something like that, the fire chief for San Antonio, and he said they responded to a high-rise fire, and he said, just this past week we were here in this area and we were preparing to respond to this, and he said, it came in great. That they, by being upfront like that, that's what you have to do when you're in that type of a position. And so, whereas your spring happens to most people when spring comes, but by the time spring has been there, you were preparing for it in the fall, and now being prepared for the floods of spring and then potentially the summer. Now, that's your job, is to be out there up front and personally, for the people.
Right. And actually, we hold a strategic planning offsite every July, where we start looking the fiscal year ahead, and even we have a strategic plan that goes 5 years out.
Right.
So the Federal Executive Board, we establish what our goals are. We're reaching 5 years out. It's already developed. Our Executive Policy Council has bought into it. We've pushed that to the Office of Personnel Management in Washington. They've given us the yay, the green light. Yes, your strategic plan is awesome. So every July, though, we sit down and say, what in our strategic plan do we need to continue to develop? So we'll look at our strategic plan, table our training for that year to kind of meet those goals that we still need to continue.
So looking ahead, trying to determine what the potential catastrophes are, that was one of the words that you used. Being in insurance, I think it's rather it's deceptive, because in insurance everything's a cat. If there's hail, that's what they call it. If there's hail, there's a cat. If there's flood, there's a cat. We have cats all over the place, and it's deceptive because it desensitizes people to what a catastrophe really is, which means that everything that was put in place in order to deal with this, it's been exceeded, and now we have a real situation on it.
Yes, I mean the insurance industry. I'm sure they have to plan just like we do, and anticipate and simulate.
But they're crunching numbers. They're trying to figure out. You're actually talking about lives. You're talking about the property that people have to maintain. Whereas in the insurance company, it's more of how much are we going to have to put in reserve, how much are we going to be ready to outlay in this particular situation. And so it's a little bit different. It's the same general animal, but so what you're saying is that you need to be prepared for whatever might happen. So that includes not just the things that we can tell year after year that they're gonna happen, whether it be drought, whether it be flood, lightning strikes, what have you. But then we also have those one-off type of events. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So like the one we're thinking, like the 500 flood that we're planning for. So in San Antonio, we've had some major flooding, and we know we're prone to it.
Especially in particular neighborhoods, they'd say, yeah, we've had several 100-year
I
floods.
mean, actually, we've had neighborhoods that have had to close because they've had to be evacuated and totally zoned off for people inhabitable, I think is what it is. But so we, looking forward, we've had all these situations. We've seen the weather changing, and we've seen the San Antonio flooding, and so we're like, let's just throw it out there.
Sure.
And so what we're trying to do with this event that we're planning is the Office of Emergency Management will take information that we gather, observation, notes, feedback through end of course survey, and then they're going to try to use what we take where we've done these individual neighborhoods and then wrap that up and then do an Office of Emergency Management later event with like city leaders and the higher level partners that they work with.
Right.
So and that 500-year flood that we're not saying that it's going to happen, but we want to be prepared that
Sure.
in the event that it does.
Well, there's people that won't realize it now, but then when it happens, then your pre-planning will be helping them and their family. And it put a plug in for CERT, Community Emergency Response Team. One of the things that's taught is you need to be responsible for yourself and for your family, and only by doing that can you even think about helping the greater public.
And that's what some of our training is going to be too, is how to make yourself and your family, and then organizations, and how to prepare everybody for doing that. I wanted to say too that with the Hurricane Harvey that hit, you remember it was coming right at us. So we were prepping in San Antonio with the
Saturday morning.
Yeah, so we were there, so with the Alamo Federal Executive Board, our information, we're there to keep those informed. So through our emergency response plan, which we disseminate every year, every 1 October, we have an executive policy board meeting. We give it out to all the agency heads, and we say, this is our plan of action in the event that something happens. Of course, DoD is the largest federal agency, so what we do as the Federal Executive Board, we sit on the JBSA command post calls, we sit on the calls with the Office of Emergency Management, the National Weather Service, all the webinars that go on, those 2 a.m. and those 4 a.m. calls that are going on, we're on those, so that when the situation is tagged, like base closure, so because JBSA is the largest federal agency, the Alamo Federal Executive Board, through our plan, we have all the federal agencies in a call-down tree. So, DoD has a really good call-down tree, but the small agencies like Social Security, the IRS, some of those outliers, they depend on us to say, here's what JBSA has determined. Well, even though we, AFEB, cannot make any recommendations, our AFEB chair, Mr. Wes Roeder, who happens to be the Federal Protective Service area commander, every year I get a new boss every year. So the FPS federal commander, he is, and so
you show him the rope.
Well, don't tell him.
We won't admit it. Okay.
Yeah, don't tell him myself. Okay. So, but with him, what I would do is he will, I coordinate with him. We put the word out on what we recommend. We can't make any decisions for federal employees or federal agency heads. We will tell them, the Alamo Federal Executive Board, based on information that we gathered and honed from all these different agencies that are in the know, we will recommend this, whether it's 2-hour delay, base closure, and we also carry out that with, we recommend that other agencies do the same, but it's entirely their call. So with an MOU that we have,
MOU being
the Memorandum of Understanding, with FEMA and the Office of Personnel Management. So in the event, and I'm going to use Oklahoma for example, where Oklahoma's had major tornadoes and the Murrah building. So the Federal Executive Board Director up there, because we keep tons of information on the different agencies, we're kind of the belly button where FEMA would reach out to us, OPM would reach out to us, and we have the capability to get information out to all the different agencies, like what's your operating status in today's event, or we can rally. We have the capability. Our group email accounts are so large that we have the capability to rally the troops, so to speak, for those who have cell phones, those who have background checks, those who have CAT cards. For instance, like in Oklahoma, they were going around knocking on doors to find out what the situation was in homes.
Right.
So we have federal employees, kind of like what the CERT team does, but
Right.
feds would go up because it was so massive,
Sure.
like Katrina, those types of situations.
So we have events that we know are going to happen, and then we have those one-off events that we were talking about a little bit, potentially called a black swan event.
Yes.
So, and I think that one of the situations that when people are listening to a show like this, they're thinking, well, what about the thing that you're not saying? So, tell me a little bit about what everybody's thinking about right now, what's on the airwaves, what has people frightened. Okay, and that would be the coronavirus. Tell me what you can about that. I understand, there's certain things you wouldn't be able to say. Tell me what you can.
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to say because I'm certainly not in the know about everything. I mean, I do get daily emails. I can say that the CDC, the Office of Personnel Management, my leadership, all the agencies involved, we are constantly putting out information, disseminating it to our federal employees. And and it's basically, in this virus is, if you're sick, cough into your arm, go to the clinic, call ahead before you go, check to see what your fever level is. And I think the information that we received is that the Trump administration got so far out in front of this event that, that it's really not that we shouldn't be cautious and that we shouldn't have it on our radar, but we don't expect like the pandemic like they're seeing in China. Absolutely not. I mean, just like, the quarantines and the people that were brought up. I'm not in the know on all that, but, I just think that the way we're handling it, the way we got a head start on it, and the information that's disseminated. I know I had one federal agency call and said, what do I tell my employees? And so what I did was I just packed it all together, all the information that I had gotten from all the different agencies, I had gotten a STRAC briefing that day before.
STRAC being?
You tell me.
San Antonio Regional, Authority.
See,
Council,
don't put me on the spot.
Right? Yeah.
So that organization, I just know them as STRAC, I just know they're very important people and they help us a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
So we got the briefing, and so we were able to share that with our agency heads and some really good information, like I said. And we packaged it, we sent it to our agency heads and our need-to-know people.
Sometimes that's what people want. They just want that, you're already on it. You've got it. You've got my back.
And one thing in the building, I happen to, as the Federal Executive Board, we're hosted by an agency, and I'm very fortunate to be hosted by the Air Force Personnel Center, which is where I worked forever and ever and ever. So a lot of my federal career, I was an HR manager in the Air Force Personnel Center. So, but even walking around the buildings there, I see all the flyers hanging up about what to do, who to call. So I think it's just putting information out there, putting bulletin boards.
Well, what's amazing though is when you've got a situation like that where the information is always there and you pass by it, and the one moment you need it, you're not going to go down that corridor or whatever it is.
But I recently we have a leadership program. We have Leadership FEB and Emerging Leaders Federal Executive Board. We took them on a field trip, if you will, and we happened to go over to the VA. And everywhere there was posters, there was information, there were public service announcements, there were videos on the TVs. So I think, our federal community is very informed on it.
And so the VA is part of the group as well, I would think, right?
VA is it's a federal agency, and they fall under our purview. And have a great partnership with the director there, Mr. Samuels. Yeah, amazing. Yeah. In fact, he just gave a briefing to our leadership program on the VA and things a lot of us didn't know.
I just did an interview with the PTSB, the San Antonio chapter, Chad Full, and Cody Full. I apologize, Cody Full. And so I was thinking about him. That maybe we want to make sure that they have a connection as well.
So he's part of the VA.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so the Federal Executive Board, most of our dealings are at the agency head level.
Right.
But we do, and like our organizational chart, if you will. So we have the White House.
Right.
We have the Office of Personnel Management.
Right.
And then we're we're aligned with matrix kind of over to the side. And then we have an executive policy council that kind of monitors the Federal Executive Board. But under our lines, we have the workforce support, we have the emergency preparedness chair and co-chair.
Right.
We have our workforce development support chair and co-chair. We have our strategic partnerships chair. And all of them make sure that all these things that a two-person office tries to do through volunteers, through federal employees, making things happen. And one thing I'm very proud of under our line of business too is our shared mutuals consortium. So we have about 75 mediators that fall under my responsibility that go out and do mediations, workplace disputes, facilitations, pre-EEO and post-EEO, and we've saved millions.
That's what you were telling me,
Yeah.
and you saved the federal government a tremendous amount of money.
Yes, millions.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes.
Now, and you were also telling me that what's the percentage of, we think of federal employees, a lot of them anyway, as being in Washington. You were telling me actually the percentage of federal employees outside of Washington as well?
So 85% of federal employees lie outside of the Washington D.C. Hence the reason for the federal executive boards.
Right.
And I'm so surprised at how many people don't know about this. We are an amazing resource for agencies. For instance, and I'm just going to say like my line of business one. We provide a ton of training, whether it's continuity of operations, whether it's this conference that we're putting on in partnership with the Office of Emergency Management. We work closely with FEMA on different topics and events. Then our line of business too, oh my gosh, we just have a huge array of different trainings we offer there, whether it's partnerships with the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service to provide training for our mediators, our super managers, our supervisors and managers.
Super managers.
Super managers, yeah, there, I coined that term. Our super managers, which we have a lot of those too.
Right.
And then our union representatives, so we partnered with them, and we also partnered with the Air Force Mediation Negotiation Center to do webinars, and that's what the FEB is. We're out forming partnerships, and through these partnerships, we're able to bring a lot of zero cost and low cost training to our federal employees. So every year, I mean, we save in the area of $3 to $4 million every year for our feds in our area, just by these things that we're able to bring in at zero or little cost. And our mediations are around $2 to $3 million just themselves.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
So what an exciting job that you have.
Oh gosh, I think I've diagnosed to heaven already. And like I told you earlier, I would do this for free if I didn't like to eat, because I do. I think, like I said, I lay awake thinking of ways I can serve our feds.
Right.
And
well, I know that we served as the as one of the CERT events, and as I was gearing up for this program, I got to thinking about you, and I thought, you know what, a lot of people don't realize exactly what you're doing, the amount of work that goes out in advance, you know, in order to prepare for these events. And so I wanted to have the opportunity to give you this limelight and have you give you the opportunity to reach out to the public this way.
I appreciate it. If we're wrapping up, I want to plug one more thing. It's our strategic partnerships. Under that line of business, we have a Leadership Alumni Association. I went through the leadership program back in 1998, and that's when I fell in love with the Alamo Federal Executive Board, way back in 1998, when I went through that program. And I remember the executive director, I used to walk around with him, when are you going to retire? Just remember, I want your job. Well, through, like I said, divine intervention, Dr. Ford, who was the executive director of the Air Force Personnel Center, he tapped into me and gave me the opportunity to do this. And I didn't want to act too excited, because I thought if I act too excited, he might say, no, she's too excited about it. But I think it's an honor to serve our federal community. It's an honor to be involved with all the different partnerships, our city, our state, our local. I mean, I haven't even named half of the partnerships that we're
Well, it is only a half-hour show. I'm working on getting it to an hour, but for right now. But really, I'm so grateful that you had the opportunity to be here today, and one, like I said, I wanted to give you this opportunity to reach out and really share what you do with the general public, as well as, you know, perhaps federal employees that don't know about you. And so we're just very, very excited to have you.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
I love your passion and your enthusiasm, and that's what it takes. When people have that, then the job's not really a job.
I mean, just like, you know, the doggy feds, every fed that I know, every single fed that I know is one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. And I can reach out and touch any of them and say, can you help us? And they always offer to help. Anytime I need volunteers, they raise their hand and they go volunteer. So,
All right.
thank
You heard that,
Riley.
guys. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Uh-huh.
Was that 30 minutes?
Awesome. It goes fast. It's incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of stuff I need to say, Riley.
Oh yeah. What? We can do it again. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
No, yeah. It's amazing how fast it goes.
Yeah, it went real fast.
Yeah.
You cut me off. Did I go over?
No. But and like I said, if there's anything that I need to manipulate, I think you did an awesome job. So
I do
yeah.
love my job, and I think
Yeah.
when I start talking about
Well, no, but it flows. I think you did a great job. Yeah.
So I'll start talking about it when I go give the mission brief.